And hello again, Warriors football fans. My name is Scott Warras. We have a Week 9 football preview on tap, and that is why head coach Eric Treske is sitting to my right, your left, as you watch this. Coach, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Before we talk about last week, a little bit of a recap and preview the matchup down at Rockford, your last road game of the season coming up this Saturday. I'm going to step back because in conjunction with last Saturday's game against St. Norbert, your program and the college as a whole obviously took part in the Cans Across the Conference collection and competition in essence.
Yep.
And it was a booming success. So if you could just take a step back maybe and just tell us a little bit about what that is all about and why it went so right.
Sure. Well, we're very thankful and grateful for our conference for spearheading this initiative. Really, it encapsulates the idea that I think WC stands for, which is using every blessing God gave you to bless other people. So across our conference, they're taking donations at different sporting events and different things around our college campuses to give back to those in need throughout this holiday season. And so Saturday, we had a chance as a football program to participate in that, and we had people were able to donate cans as for their admission. We also had some financial donations as well. And we have this beautiful connection. Our hope, and we've talked about this in previous weeks, our hope is that every game is kind of a forum or a showcase for some organization within Milwaukee. We want to be a conduit for the different things that are happening within our city, and it just happens to be around a football game. This Saturday was the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative. I've been really fortunate. A really good friend of mine, Jaime Martinez, works there and was sharing with me just the different things that they're doing for those that served our country and are now in need. And fortunately, this organization recognized that need. I think they started in 2008 and have been able to grow and expand their reach and programs. But the reason they're growing is because the need is growing. And so we are very fortunate to be able to at least play a part in helping serve some of those individuals.
Oh, that's great. That's great. If, there's more info online at WLCsports.com and the NAC website as well if you want more info on that. Let's turn our attention then to the game. 55-7, St. Norbert beats the Warriors on Saturday. As you reflected in those hours and days, and you've long since turned the page, I realize that. What do you hope was the biggest lesson or lessons that your team collectively takes from that and is ultimately better for it?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that since I've been here, I've tried to instill in our players is the understanding that your circumstance doesn't determine your reality, your identity, or your response. And in the context of the St. Norbert game, we had a poor start. Our defense has been the strength of our football team all year, and they will continue to be. But Norbert's had a very effective, very efficient first drive, kind of a first punch, if you will, and we were shell-shocked. Offensively, we had a plan going into it. Felt like we wanted to be aggressive early. Felt like we had some advantages in the perimeter game. In order to do that, we had to pick up protection, and we had a good plan, but we didn't execute. And so within, a very short period of time, we found ourselves down 2+ scores. What I know about life and what I know about football is that you can't gain ground overnight. You can't gain ground in one play. I was telling the guys during the game, there's no 20-point play. No. You have to play this game one play at a time. Even at half, despite being down, I think it was 27-0 at half and being down, feeling like we did not play well at all. I didn't feel like we were completely out of that football game if we were able to do what we talked about, which is zero back in on what we had right in front of us. And you saw, I think our football team start to do things you hadn't seen us do most of the year. We play out of character offensively, defensively. Just when you're down or you make some poor plays early, you press. Yeah. You do things outside yourself. And that's the unfortunate thing, but every game is a learning lesson, and so I'm excited to see how we learn.
How much after something like that, or any tough day, close game, wide margin loss, whatever, how much do you lean on your captains, your leaders, your veterans to do their part in addressing maybe their teammates or the situation as a whole, knowing you as coaches, your impact only goes so far sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely lean on your captains. The way they've led all year, it's no different now. And in fact, I had a chance to see a few guys on Saturday, despite the score and how we were playing, really step into a leadership role. And that's when you really find that the test of your character and your leadership is everyone can lead when things are going well. How do you lead when things get difficult? And I was proud of those guys. I saw Brandon Ansack and Savon Goodwin and Connor Martin and these guys that pour their heart and soul into this team and are, I would say kind of the heartbeat of our program. I didn't see them quit. I didn't see them disengage. I didn't see them point fingers. Saw them battle as hard as they could for 4 quarters. I saw them try to lift up and hype up teammates, try to keep guys motivated. I think the hardest thing for me is I really believe, like, St. Orbert's a very good football team. You can't give them anything, but I felt like we could match up. And for us to have a disappointing outcome, knowing what was on the line, knowing that we had a chance to potentially play another game postseason, and that was a big goal for our team. That's what hurts, I think, is just knowing that we might not get that opportunity. But the outside, is you still have some really, really special things in front of us. If we finish this year strong, we can have the best record, tied for the best record in team history, put our program in a position, that I think our seniors have wanted to for a long, long time. We've got a great test this week in Rockford, and then we've got, our friends up north coming down, week 10. So there's a lot of great things that can still happen.
As we step back, and I suppose this is something that every team in America at every level right now in football is dealing with, or at least addressing in some respect. And I want to talk about the freshman class. And you always hear about the rookie wall in professional sports. And maybe you experienced this back in your freshman year. But here we are. It's November. I mean, there's still a few weeks left in the season. And how do you and your staff kind of address that with these guys, again, the freshmen, who are going through a college football season for the very first time? They're playing more, they're practicing more than they ever did before. It's a thing, it's a reality. How do you guys try to manage that? And how do you think your freshmen collectively are handling that quote-unquote rookie wall?
That's a great question. I think the first is not messaging or any of those things. It's literally how do we structure practice, right? Being mindful of where our team is at, the injuries that mount up, all these different things that I think add to, the cumulative effect of stress, not just physical, mental, all that. So we've changed how we practice this past week to make sure that, every week I always tell the guys, we want to be fresh, we want to be focused. That's it. You know your job, you know what you got to do, you're going to execute, and if you're healthy, we got a shot. We have a team that can do that. And so what that looks like week by week changes, right? Yeah. I know some programs within our conference even, they're still practicing 2.5 hours a day, and we're not in a position to do that, nor do we think it's beneficial. So we adjust those things. We help our guys understand their value. Your role doesn't determine your value. So what I mean by that is, we've got guys that have played 90% of the snaps on the year, right? And everyone's going to say that person's a key member, right? That we need them on the field, all those things. And that's true, but that doesn't mean their value is greater than my freshman giving an awesome scout look, busting his tail, doing what he can on specials, and trying to build his skill set, but also help his team and what we're asking him to do. Every role matters, and those guys understand that. Actually, I don't mean to take this question too long, but I had a nameless freshman. I won't share his name.
Sure.
He's going to probably have an expanded role this week, and I really appreciate him. He's grown so much since camp. Seen a lot of maturity in him, and the one thing I admire about him is he's very humble. He's willing to admit his shortcomings. And he goes, Coach, I'll be honest, I got frustrated. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I figured I wasn't going to play. I saw, it was week 3, week 4, and I wasn't in the lineup yet. And I was like, I guess I'm just not one of those guys this year. And he's like, it didn't stop me from trying hard, but he's like, mentally, I wasn't trying to stay on the game plan like I should and stuff. And now his number's being called. He's like, he came in for all these extra sessions, and he's like, I learned now. That's my fault. Like, I can't let my pride get in the way of my preparation. So it was cool to hear him express that, and that's what it's all about. It's just helping us understand that.
Yeah, staying engaged, making sure that those guys that, maybe haven't had their number called officially in a game and maybe haven't had a snap or whatever the case might be. And I guess you probably have to deal with this in football more than any other sport just because of the roster size.
Sure.
Is that you have to keep a lot of those young guys or older guys that have a smaller role engaged in the overall process, and that's not always easy. I was just curious, can you harken back to your first year here at WLC.
Yeah.
Was there a moment there as a freshman where you went, man, this is a long season. This is longer than anything I experienced before?
I think what can make it long as a freshman is you go from being like a key contributor. You know, for me, I was almost never off the field on offense in high school, right? For some kids, they're small schools. They're like literally never off the field. They've been on every offense, special team, defense. We have guys that have done that. So you come here and you're fighting for 8 snaps a game or 10 snaps or one. You know, I had my best friend in college had 1 snap our freshman year, ended up being a captain for us. So there's those. That's a challenge, right? Is I'm working really hard. But last year, every time I worked hard, I got to have a little bit of that reward every Friday night. Now I'm working really hard, and it feels like the reward's not there. And the key to all of it, and this is just a really good life lesson, is it's not just about playing. Everybody wants to be on the field. The difference is, are you going to be ready to make the most of that opportunity? It's not just enough to play. Like, do you want to just play, or do you want to be the best you possibly can, right? And so in order to do that, you got to stack days. You have to prepare yourself, and that's not a football. That's a life thing, right? I mean, you've done that in your career, and Adam, you've done that in your career. Everybody that's watching this, you understand that principle. When you're 18, it's not always easy to remember that. I know I got frustrated at times, but I did have good people around me that just said, "Hey, work while you wait." So I put in extra work, and I think it helped me when I got my shot.
Yeah, no, that's a great note for everybody can relate with that. So we turn the page now. Warriors on Saturday at 12 noon will head to historic Sam Greeley Field to take on the Rockford Regents. Rockford, an interesting team this year, Coach. They're 4-4 overall. They're 2-4 in the NAC. In their 4 wins, they're averaging 52 points per game. In their 4 losses, 11 points per game. It's kind of a feast or famine situation for the Regents this year. What have you stressed with your team in preparation? We talked about it off the air too. That slogan, don't let a team beat you twice. Don't let what happened last Saturday, in this case St. Norbert, cost you a game at Rockford.
Yeah, Monday was important to us as a program. We had to turn the page. We had to set our sights on a good Rockford team. I think Coach Tolliver, for years now, he's been doing a good job building Rockford up. They've been, had some challenges in the past, and they're having a great year. And so we know they're going to have a lot of energy. They're going to look at this as an opportunity. For those seniors, it'll be their last home game, like Greeley Field and all that stuff. And I think we have to play a really good complementary game. As you expressed, like their offense is powerful. They can have explosive plays. They do a nice job giving you some challenges formationally. So our offense has to do its part by, I think having sustained football drives. Sure. Making them more one-dimensional. If we can get a lead early, now it helps us defend them a little easier than in the past. But we know we're in for a test. The last 2 years we played Rockford, it wasn't like we just came up and rolled. Like, 2 years ago, they had a 14-0 lead on us before we even had our 3rd drive. Like last year, it was a neck-and-neck football game through about 3 quarters until we were able to kind of overpower them at the end. So Rockford's a good team. We got to be ready, but I think our guys have had a good week of preparation.
Is Greeley Field still grass?
It is the last grass stadium in the league.
Is that an overblown? I guess if the weather's nice, if it's not rainy and muddy, and then you're in the muck and mud. Yeah. If it's a nice weather day, is the grass thing kind of overplayed by fans, by media types, or is there something to be said for that?
I think it can be overplayed a little bit. Yeah, I mean, both teams play on it. They obviously have a little bit more experience than we do, but if anything, grass just exposes your technique. If you play high, right, high hipped, high shouldered, like if you don't play low like you're called to, and that's almost every position on the field, you can get exposed on grass quite literally, and you fall on your butt. So you got to make sure that you're on point with your techniques.
It's amazing how turf has pretty much just taken over everything. High school football,
soccer,
college. Yeah. I mean, grass is now what turf was, 10, 12 years ago. Before we get to 5 questions, we round out kind of our conversation here with the Warrior of the Week.
Yes.
As the coaches determined based on last Saturday's performance. Who you got?
I mentioned his name earlier, Connor Martin. Connor's a guy that I've seen grow a ton since his freshman year. He's become a really, really strong vocal leader, almost a coach on the field. He knows our game plan inside and out, and he's been a really good leader for our program. I could tell he was disappointed. but he did not let that deter how he led. Connor led as well, or if not better, on Saturday when we were down too many scores than he did in the previous games where we had won. Like, he was just constantly going up and down the sideline, bringing positivity, speaking life into his teammates, saying, "Hey, I'm going to fight for you one more play. Just give me one more play. Just give me one more drive." Like four quarters. Like, he was just reinforcing over and over and over. Like, right now the score doesn't matter. It's let's just fight for each other. And that was really, I was impressed with that. I was really impressed with how mature he handled it.
And leading this team in picks, too.
He is. Yeah, I think he's got 4, right?
Yep. All right, Coach, before we round this out, we play 5 questions. First answer that comes to mind, don't overthink it. Number 1, Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Bugs Bunny. Yep.
Number 2, what is your favorite flavor/color Gatorade?
I will say Riptide Rush, the light purple.
Light purple.
Yeah, you can't go Fierce Grape. That is not the same.
Good on you for knowing the names of those. I don't know any of the names. I just point like, give me a purple.
Yep.
Give me an orange. I'll take a light red. I don't know. Good for you.
Too many camps in the summer. That's Gatorade time.
Number 3, what is your earliest memory?
Earliest memory?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. I have a lot of like childhood memories. My parents were awesome parents growing up. I can remember being in the car with them, listening to music when I was real little in the back and probably couldn't walk very well.
Look at the car seat, probably.
Yeah, I remember my mom dressing me up for Halloween. I was like mortified. I looked like this just awful clown. It was terrible.
Oh, that's right.
Like, why?
Yeah, clown.
But
yeah.
outside of that, I had a lot of good memories, Christmas memories, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So
Well, it's oftentimes
they're all childhood.
right. Oftentimes when people talk about their earliest memory, it's just kind of like a little flash of something.
Yeah.
Like I have this vague memory of playing in the yard near a sandbox.
Okay.
And I know I was tiny and small, but that's all I remember.
Yeah.
You know, it was really young. That's interesting. Number 4, who is the most famous non-athlete you've ever met?
Non-athletes.
Nobody related to the world of sports.
Oh, man. I can't even think of one. I don't know.
Who's the most famous athlete you've ever met?
Maybe Tebow, I guess. He's pretty famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years ago at the Divine
Yeah.
Servant Award. Number 5, what is your greatest phobia?
I don't like heights very much, I'll be honest. Like the idea of falling from a great height. Go back to memories. So when I was a little kid, I was at County Stadium. If you went to the old Brewer Stadium, if you were up at the top had a steepness that is far different than modern stadiums. And I remember falling as a little kid, and that like
You fell?
down this. Yeah, I was like the top. Actually, yeah. Now we're
Oh,
opening
that's
up
horrible.
some wounds. All right, so
That's
yeah, I fell
horrible.
down. I like tripped or fell when my dad took
Oh,
me with some of
no.
his friends, and bloody nose. It was bad.
Oof.
Yeah, I was probably like 3 or 4. I was small.
Okay.
But yeah, so heights.
that'll-
There you go. This is a psychology session.
We
not
answered,
just-
we answered 2 questions.
We
We
did.
answered 2 with 1. That was
did.
good. And the bonus question, linked to 25 years of Warriors football. We always step back and have a big picture football question. Warriors looking for a bounce back this week at Rockford. What is the most memorable bounce back game you've been a part of, either as a player or a coach? Bounce back game.
Well, as
Chips are down.
chips are down. I'll
Yeah.
give you, so in my
Rising
own
from the
personal
ashes.
playing days, okay?
Yeah.
In 2001, let me take you back to 2001. We just got past Y2K. The world was all right, but
Yeah,
at
we made it.
Cedarburg High School, it was a little bit shaky. We were 3-0 to start. High expectations, one of the most talented teams we had in recent years, and then we lost 2 in a row. Lost to a really tough Germantown team late, and our starting quarterback got concussed. And I was the number 2 at the time. I played specials and did some other stuff. And so my first start, I had a chance to help us bounce back, and we played Milwaukee Lutheran. Coach Janowski, who I got to coach with here, was at Milwaukee Lutheran at the time, and we had a really big win. We were able to come back and kind of set the path for a great finish throughout the year. So that was a big bounce back. It was my first game. Super nervous, but had good leaders and an amazing coach and Coach Lair to help me. So
That's awesome. Well, hopefully that's a similar script that plays out for the Warriors at Rockford on Saturday. It'll be at 12 o'clock noon, a little earlier than normal, 12 o'clock noon kickoff. If you're going to make the trek, make sure you're there in time. Otherwise, WLCsports.com with all the links. With a win, Warriors will secure a winning season. First time since 2014. Coach, best of skill. Go get them.
Thank you, sir.
And then next week we'll talk about that game against the team up north. Thanks for watching, everybody.